The courtroom was silent, save for the scratch of the judge's pen. Eleanor stood at the defendant's table, her coat frayed at the cuffs, a knitted scarf hanging loosely around her neck. Her hair, silver and untamed, caught the morning light, streaming through the tall windows. She clutched her worn canvas bag like it was the last piece of dignity she had left. When she stumbled over her words, explaining why she couldn't pay the fine, the judge smirked, then chuckled, the sound sharp and cold against the still air. "Ma'am, this isn't a charity," he said, leaning back in his chair. Laughter, low, awkward, rippled from a few benches behind. Eleanor's cheeks flushed, her voice trembling as she tried again. But he waved her off, already scribbling. "The next order. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I love knowing who's listening." Eleanor's eyes darted to the door. She knew no one was coming for her. Her son hadn't called in years. Her daughter, well, that bridge had burned a long time ago. She thought she'd never see him again. She was wrong. The judge began to read the sentence, his voice almost casual. A week in the county facility unless she paid the full amount today. Eleanor's heart sank. She barely had enough for bread and tea. The murmurs grew, some pity, some disdain. Then the heavy wooden doors swung open. Sunlight spilled in, haloing a figure in the doorway. A man in uniform stepped forward, the kind of presence that made the room instinctively straighten. His boots echoed against the tile as he approached, a duffel bag slung over his shoulder, ribbons and bars glinting faintly on his chest. He didn't glance at anyone until his eyes found her. The judge paused mid-sentence, his pen hovering. "Can I help you, sir?" The man stopped at Eleanor's side. "Yes, Your Honor. I believe you're speaking to my mother." Gasps rippled through the gallery. Eleanor froze, her lips parting but no sound escaping. She hadn't seen Daniel in nearly 12 years, not since the day he left for his final deployment overseas. Back then, he'd been all restless energy and determination. Now, he stood calm and steady, with the weight of service in his gaze. Daniel placed a hand gently on her shoulder before turning back to the judge. "I just returned from Afghanistan. I hear you've been mocking her for being poor." His tone was measured, but steel lay beneath. The judge shifted uncomfortably, his earlier confidence faltering. I was merely." "You were humiliating a woman who worked 30 years as a nurse, raised 2 kids alone, and never asked for help. The only reason she's in this courtroom is because the world didn't give her the same mercy she gave to everyone else." The gallery was silent now, the weight of his words settling over every seat. Eleanor felt tears sting her eyes, but she kept her head high. Daniel stepped forward and set a thick envelope on the clerk's desk. "This will cover her fine, and then some. Donate the rest to anyone else you've laughed at." The judge's jaw tightened, but he nodded, clearing his throat. Case dismissed. Eleanor turned to her son, her voice barely above a whisper. "I thought you'd forgotten me." He smiled, that same boyish smile she remembered, though now lined with years. "You never stopped being home, Mom." The crowd began to clap, hesitant at first, then louder, until the room filled with the sound. Even the bailiff, usually a stone-faced figure, gave a small nod of respect, because kindness doesn't vanish. It waits, and it finds its way back. Outside the courthouse, the winter wind bit at their cheeks, but Eleanor felt warm for the first time in years. The laughter she'd heard earlier was gone, replaced by something stronger. The knowledge that even the deepest cracks in life can be mended, if only for a moment, by the right person walking through the right door. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs reminding that hope is never too far away. And don't forget to subscribe. We have so many more stories like this to tell you.